Hello, guys. So, we're going to be exploring how to choose to manage stress and how to manage that pressure that we get to do. This is the first video in a whole series that we're going to be doing on this. And then we might even go on and explore further. But for right now, we're really going to be digging into how we choose to manage stress and how we really manage that pressure that we always seem to have to get things done, to grow, to keep moving forward in life. So for this, I really am loving using human design to kind of guide this video, this exploration. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some pointers as we go through. But you don't have to have human design. You don't have to be into human design. You don't have to have your chart or anything to really get the benefit out of this. But if you do have your chart, you can kind of follow along with some of the pointers that I give you. But my goal is to really make this as accessible to everybody as possible, whether they're into human design or not. So let's start with what we're talking about in terms of the human design chart. So if you do have your chart, or if you want to get your chart, you can go to Jovian Archive. So it's Jovian and then archive.com. In their menu, you'll see a spot to get your free chart, and you can go ahead and plug in your information to get your chart. If you have your chart, what we're talking about here in this particular series is the root center. So that's going to be the square on the very bottom of your chart, smack in the center, your root center. It's also associated with the root chakra. So this is the center that is really associated with that pressure to do. It's associated with how you manage your stress. So that's why we are starting with this. So it's also that energy to drive you forward, to really make progress in your life. Now, in human design, it is both a pressure center and a motor center. So what that means, whether you have human design or not, what that means is that pressure that you will often feel to go do things or to make yourself better or to move forward in life, and then the energy that comes from that to really drive you forward, to allow you to do all these things. So what I love about human design is that it just deals with the spectrum of life with human experience. And in the spectrum of the root center, it's really that spectrum of experiencing stress, right? You can think about stress as being, something that really weighs on you. It creates a lot of negative pressure that kind of, it drags you down after a while, right? It's that idea of stress can either help push you forward, it can drive you to get better, or it can kind of clear that threshold where you just can't handle it anymore and it starts to really wear you down. So I love thinking about stress with that spectrum in mind of really like, when does stress serve you versus when does it not serve you, right? There's also another spectrum to consider that human design really brings to the forefront, which is that it's almost an empathy, right? Is it your stress, or are you picking up on other people's stress? And we're going to kind of dig into both of those, both like, how do we make stress serve you? How do we really use that to your advantage? How do we bring awareness to when it's not serving you, when it's really starting to drag you down and have kind of a negative impact, especially on your health and well-being? And then also, how do we bring awareness to, is this your stress? Is this stress that you are choosing versus is this stress that is getting put on you maybe by other people, like placing expectations on you? Or are you also just being very empathetic and picking up maybe on the stress of those around you, even though like there's nothing you can necessarily do about it? So we want to have that awareness to really be able to empower you to make the best decisions in terms of how do you choose to manage stress and how do you choose to put that pressure to get things done to the best use for you and your goals. Also considering what's best for you and your health, right? And your overall well-being, body, mind, and soul. So, let's see. So we also want to link this back to your body, right? Because when stress is no longer serving you, or even when you are continuing to take action, trying to kind of solve other people's stress, you're actually putting yourself at major risk for burnout. And you may have even experienced this, right? Especially for anyone who's experienced major burnout, major adrenal fatigue, that sort of thing. This particular center, both in human design, in the chakra system, and just in general too, I think we can all understand how stress is related to our adrenals, right? So it's this center is related to the adrenals in terms of how your body manages stress. So when stress goes unchecked, gets out of control, when it really starts to rule you versus you choosing how you use the stress, it will inevitably eventually start affecting your physical health. And we'll see that in adrenal fatigue or in burnout or hormonal disorders, all of those things. So we want to really bring awareness to that so that we can prevent that ideally or heal it if that's already happened. So, I think a big thing to remind you of is that your metabolism is always going to be a gauge of your stress, how you are physically, how your health is physically, especially your metabolic health, your hormones, that sort of thing. That is always going to be a gauge of stress. So as we go through this, at the end of this, I'm actually going to give you kind of like a little algorithm that you can apply to life. And the good thing to come back to is when you are starting to reflect on how you've been dealing with stress to really determine if it's right for you or not, you can use your metabolic health as kind of that very objective view of whether you're dealing with your stress in the best way possible. Because if you are not metabolically healthy, if your hormones are out of whack, if you are very fatigued, if you are feeling very burned out, it doesn't matter if you think you've been dealing with stress well or if you think you've been making the best decisions. You can come back to your metabolic health to know if you've been making the best decisions. So it acts as a really nice a final check in the full equation here. So let's get into that spectrum of serving versus not serving you. So in human design, if you look at your chart, you'll notice that that little square, that little root center at the bottom, it only connects to 3 other centers. And those centers are not expression or manifestation centers. What that means, let's simplify all that because that sounds like wacky. Basically, what that means is that your body and mind have no way of just telling you directly what the right way of dealing with stress is. So you kind of have to rely on your body and your emotions to let you know if you are dealing with it right. Coming back to that idea of your metabolism is kind of that final check. It's that final say in whether you are truly dealing with your stress correctly. Your body will let you know. Sadly, this does take some trial and error because your root center does not have direct access basically to your throat. It can't speak for itself. It can't just tell you directly, this is how we deal with stress in the best way possible. So we really do have to kind of dig into that trial and error. And what I like to do to make it as simple as possible is to use that spectrum of, is it serving you or is it not serving you? So You may have a defined root center or an undefined root center. If you have your chart, that's going to look like either that little square is colored white or it might be colored in brown. Other places might use other colors, I'm not sure, but either it's going to be white or it's going to be a certain color. So that basically means that you either have a consistent way of dealing with stress, if it's colored in, or you have an inconsistent way of dealing with stress, which means that you're more flexible. It depends on the situation. It depends on what the stress is, and how you deal with it will depend on that. So if it's colored in, that means it's defined. It means you have a consistent way of dealing with stress. Regardless of what the stress is, you have a way that you tend to like to deal with stress. If it's a white square, you have an undefined center, which means you have an inconsistent way of dealing with stress. Now, there's a whole other layer that we can get into, and we're going to get into those in the other videos where we talk about the gates that are attached. It's there's 9 little lines. There's like 3 on the top and then 3 on each side that go off. And those are going to show you your particular preferred methods of handling stress. And I'm going to get into those in another video, because for today I really want to focus on the idea of the spectrum of what is serving you, what is not serving you. So regardless of whether you have your human design chart or not, tune into this and just feel into what resonates the most for you, what makes the most sense, what makes you feel the best. So when stress is not serving you, and this goes for anyone, whether you have that defined root center or an undefined root center, when stress is not serving you, you are going to notice certain themes coming up, certain attitudes, beliefs especially coming up. So the number one belief that comes up, or the number one approach, I should say, is when you experience that pressure to get things done so you can move to the next thing. That is a very classic example of stress not serving you, because then you find yourself caught in this cycle of rushing to get this thing done so you can move on to the next thing. And as soon as you hit that next thing, you are rushing to get that done so you can move on to this next thing. And it just creates this really nasty cycle that it's basically where stress is using your energy and your drive to get these things done, and it's never actually giving you anything back. You believe that you're going to get the satisfaction of having completed those things, but you find yourself just caught in this perpetual cycle where you're just like working and working and working and working, and it's just like there's never any true satisfaction from it. So that is a really classic example of stress not serving you. And that can happen whether you have a defined root or an undefined root. Another really big one that I see a lot is going to be that sense that there is no time to waste. You have to get it done as quickly as possible because you need that time to do something else. Something else, like who knows what it is. Maybe it's you need that time to be able to get on to the next thing. Maybe it's like a very existential pressure of like, oh, if I don't use this time, then I'm going to be missing out on doing something big with my life. And like often I think when we actually like pause and look at this, we're like there's no reason to be in a rush. Like, I don't know why I'm rushing because I don't actually know what the next thing is, but you have that sense of just always being in a rush, of always being in this time crunch. And yeah, like maybe there are actual demands on your time and you have actual due dates for like certain projects or something. But I know for me in my experience, very often it's like when I stop and look around, I'm like, I don't have any like major time crunches, so like I'm not sure why I'm hurrying. I just have this really powerful sense that like I need to get through this so I can get to the next thing, and I don't even know what the next thing is. So it's good to bring awareness to that for sure. The other ones that often are associated with this are like that sense that you could be doing more, right? Like you have that drive to get these things done and to reach this next level. And you always feel like you could or you should be doing more. But then, again, when you stop and really think about it, you're like, well, what am I expecting here? Very often we haven't even clarified those expectations, and we're going to get into that here in just a sec. And the other big one too is that sense of needing to feel needed, needing to feel useful, almost like needing to justify why you're even here and why you're even using energy, because you should have something to show for it, or you should be serving someone else. So all of these are very classic examples of when stress is not serving you. Now, coming back to that spectrum idea, right? You could definitely look at all of these and see the pros in that, see how those pressures can be very useful to us in moving forward, both as individuals, as society, even just in accomplishing very big things or even smaller things. So I think the point I really want to hone in on is bringing awareness to those experiences of stress, and bringing your awareness to whether those things, like that pressure to get things done, that sense of having no time to waste, or that you should be doing more, or that you want to be useful in some way, is that experience empowering you to actually get things done and to do something very good with your life while also enjoying life? Or is it just creating this endless cycle that's not honoring your energy? It's actually sucking energy from you. It's leaving you feeling dissatisfied. It's leaving you feeling scrambled. You want to tune into that, right? Because if it's leaving you feeling dissatisfied and scrambled and worn out, then you know it's not serving you. And the goal here is to shift it into actually serving you, where you are identifying realistic goals and expectations for yourself that you feel empowered to meet, being or taking on commitments that do honor your energy, that they don't suck all the energy out of you. By the time you're done, you actually feel energized because you did something really awesome. You also want to experience being able to trust that you do have enough time because you've prioritized your tasks, because you haven't overcommitted yourself, right? That you've taken on the number of tasks that you know you're capable of completing and that you're also excited to complete. And finally, I think more importantly than anything, you are choosing to take on those stresses that will ultimately leave you feeling satisfied or at peace or successful or even just like delighted with what you have created. So that is where stress can serve you. So start tuning into that spectrum, right? Is it leaving you feeling totally drained, or is it leaving you feeling empowered and excited, basically? So this brings me into just bringing more mindfulness into your stress experience, I guess we can call it, so that it can serve you, right? So I have 3 steps, I guess. So first of all, you want to only choose to apply your energy to getting things done that you've determined are aligned for you. And I'm going to give you like a little algorithm at the end of this for kind of how to determine that. So we want to bring that awareness to your stress experience. So one, I guess you have 3 options is what I'm trying to say. You have 3 options of how you want to choose to experience the stress experience. So 1, you can choose to go ahead and put your energy towards accomplishing something that you feel the pressure to accomplish, right? And in that, you want to make sure you're only choosing to commit to things that are serving you, right? Like what we just talked about. So you can go ahead and choose to get things done, or You can recognize that you feel that pressure to do something, but it is not something that's going to serve you. It does not honor your energy. It's just super stressful. There's no satisfaction to be had at the end of it. So you choose to not do it. And so in that case, we need to relieve the pressure in some way by using some kind of like mindfulness techniques, right? Whether it's releasing that pressure through movement in some way, maybe exercise is good, maybe doing some meditation or some other self-care techniques that allow you to just kind of take care of yourself and really honor the fact that not only did you just decide to not commit to something that was going to be very bad for you, but now you're also going to tune into your body and give yourself more of what you're needing so that you have the energy to do the next thing. It could also just be like connecting with someone who fills up your cup or who gives you inspiration to do other things, right? Or they may even, for me, it's often when I connect with like my husband or my kids, a client, or a friend, often I'll come away from that conversation having so much more clarity over what I do want to do with the energy that I have. And then I'm able to kind of better direct my energy in that stress experience. And finally, we also want to have that empathy awareness, coming back to that other spectrum I'd mentioned of, is this your stress or is it someone else's? So do you, are you really tuning in to the stress that someone else is feeling? And do you need to either separate yourself from that situation, or do you want to offer to help them? Kind of your choice on that one. But those are all three points of awareness that you want to bring so that you can be most empowered to choose how you deal with your stress experience as opposed to letting stress rule you. So, in the next few videos, we are going to dig into in human design speak, what we're going to dig into is how the root communicates with the other three centers that are around it. We've got the splenic center, the solar plexus, and the sacral center. Basically, in non-human design speak, what that means is we are going to explore how you choose to use your energy to get things done, how your how you can physically manifest stress, and either how that will show up in terms of your health and wellness getting depleted, or how you could use it again on that spectrum of empowering yourself to get even more done and to be even healthier physically. And then it's also the emotional manifestations of stress and how you can better use that to improve relationships and, again, get things done that are aligned for you. So, in the next few videos, you're basically going to be exploring how you can better direct stress in your life in a more empowered way, and really have that awareness of what is happening so that you can really choose how you use your energy to either relieve that pressure or not. So, to go back into a little bit of the human design speak, we talked briefly at the beginning on what defined versus undefined means. So if you've got that defined root center, you do have that consistent energy to get things done. You also have a consistent way of dealing with stress. Now, if it's undefined, of course, you have an inconsistent energy or an inconsistent way of dealing with stress. There's more to it, of course, so you'll notice if you're looking at your chart, you'll see whether your root is actually connected to those other centers. You'll see either red or black lines coming off of it. Now, if there is a complete line, whether it's red and or black, connecting your root to another center, whether it's to that solar plexus or the sacral or the spleen, if it is fully connected to another center, that's going to also help you understand the most specific way that you tend to deal with stress. And I'm going to get into that in the next videos. If your root center is not connected to others, again, you're very flexible in how you deal with stress. It kind of depends on the situation. You'll also notice that you tend to really amplify the stresses around you. You tend to be very empathetic. If other people are feeling stressed around you, you will tend to pick up on that and almost feel it more than they do. And you'll also feel a rush, like you'll feel in a rush to want to get rid of that pressure as quickly as possible, which again, that's that cycle, right? Of, oh, I need to hurry up and get this thing done so I can get to the next thing, and then repeat, right? So then if you have any gates coming off of your root center, whether it is fully connected to one of the other centers off of it, or not, you'll notice it goes like halfway across the line. So whether it's a halfway across or a full way across to connect to the center, those colored in areas, black or red, are going to give you an idea of how you tend to best manage stress. And again, coming back to that spectrum idea, there's kind of a best way to do it that really serves you, or there's a way that you might be using it that isn't serving you right now. And when we bring awareness to that, it's going to allow you to really be empowered to start using those methods to better serve you and how you deal with stress, so that you will be able to better release that pressure to do and get things done and grow and move forward in life. Because the idea here is that we should not be on a never-ending roller coaster in life. We should be able to actually enjoy the experience. And so that's kind of the ultimate goal here, is being able to bring awareness to how you are experiencing stress and that desire to do and get things done right now, and decide if it's truly serving you or if it's not really serving you. And if it's not really serving you, when we bring that awareness to it, we can make it start serving you now. So you can really not only get more done and move forward faster in life, but so that you can also enjoy the process along the way, because no one wants to rush through all of life only to get to the end to be like, well, I accomplished all this, but I don't know if I enjoyed it. No one wants to do that. So that's the main goal here in doing this particular series. So just to wrap up, what I wanted to offer is a little algorithm that you can start taking yourself through right now to bring more awareness to your stress experience. So first of all, we want that awareness. I think we are all acutely aware of the pressure that we are under. So the first step is to recognize that when you're feeling that pressure, it doesn't mean that you have to take action right now in order to relieve that pressure. So pause and have that awareness that you are under some kind of pressure to get something done. The first question you want to ask yourself is it my pressure or is it someone else's, right? Are you on that empathy spectrum? Because if it's your pressure, then we get to empower you to choose how you deal with that stress. And if it's not your pressure, again, you basically have two options. You can release it entirely and just kind of walk away, or you can offer to help that person. Totally up to you. Now, if you choose to go ahead and release it, you have a multitude of options available to you, really. It's do you want to go ahead and release that pressure through movement? A lot of times, going for a walk or a run or some kind of workout is really helpful, and just releasing that energy. And instead of putting it towards, taking whatever action you feel pressured to do that you've already identified as not for you to do, you can release that energy physically in a way that's actually supporting your health and your well-being. So you can use movement, you could use meditation, especially if you're already feeling low on energy. Some meditation time or any other self-care practices, whether taking a bath or getting a massage or even just taking a nap. Those are all wonderful options. And again, connecting with others is a great one, especially if you're feeling very scrambled. That I love connecting with someone else to help bring me some clarity on like, what am I even doing here? It gives me some really good perspective. Or if you have a hobby too, right? Like put that energy towards doing something that you really enjoy, and then you've still created something, right? So those are kind of the options if you choose to go ahead and just release that energy, especially because it's not yours. Now, if you've determined that it is your stress, you are feeling pressured to get something done, you want to run it through a few questions to make sure that that pressure is going to serve you. So, first of all, are your goals or expectations for utilizing this pressure, are those even realistic? Are those right for your business? Are those going to move you forward in your business? Are they moving you forward in your life? Are they moving your family forward? Are they realistic? And also, not only are they moving you forward, but again, are they realistic to get done in the time frame that you're expecting yourself to be able to do them? Because if they're not, we need to reevaluate those before taking action, right? Does this pressure honor your energy? Do you see yourself being able to have the energy to actually do it? Or do you know that you're going to be totally drained and miserable halfway through or by the end? Because if that's the case, we also, again, need to reevaluate how you are taking action before you take the action. So you'll have to kind of filter that through and figure that out for yourself. Finally, I think probably one of the most important ones is it going to actually result in true satisfaction, or is it going to trigger that cycle again, right? Are you going to have that pressure to complete it, believing you're going to be satisfied, but only to get to the end to be like, oh, got to move on to the next thing, and you don't even have time to like recognize what you just did. So is it going to result in true satisfaction? Is it going to result in you feeling at peace? Are you going to be like, oh, I'm so glad I got that done, I feel amazing? Or again, are you going to re-trigger that cycle and be like, oh, on to the next thing, and no, you have no rest or anything? Is it also going to make you feel successful? And again, in that sense of true success, just as true satisfaction or true peace? Or is it re-triggering that cycle? Or is it going to leave you feeling delighted? Are you going to be like, wow, oh my gosh, like look at this thing I just did? Or again, are you going to go through that same cycle? So if those goals and expectations around taking this action are realistic, if they will honor your energy, and if they will lead you to satisfaction, peace, success, delight, all of those, or any of those, go ahead and take the action, like go for it, and just, enjoy it. And you can always check in along the way. If it is not going to do one or any of those things, we need to redirect you over to the release it portion of the algorithm, and then again, go back through, use some movement, some meditation, self-care, connect with others, do a hobby, do something else with that energy to go ahead and release that pressure. And then again, coming back to that idea that your metabolism is kind of the final say in whether you are truly using your stress properly. If you have gone through this whole algorithm, you have taken the action, and yet your metabolism is really suffering, that's kind of your final proof that maybe somewhere along the way we kind of took the wrong step. And so you can go ahead and use that information to make better, more discerning choices in the future. And then in the meantime, go ahead and just release the pressure, take care of yourself, get help and support, and will choose a more empowered way of using that stress in the future. So that's it for now. I know this first video was a bit longer because I really wanted to get these overarching concepts. If this was enough for you, just start putting this into action for yourself to really start feeling more empowered in how you choose to experience stress and how you choose to get things done in life. If you want to dig in more, you can go ahead and watch the next videos as they come out, and we'll dig more into the spectrums of each of the gates that come off the root center, and how you can really start applying that to your life, whether you have your human design chart or not. So there's just a lot of really fun spectrums to play with, so you can really start choosing how does stress serve me or how does it not serve me, bringing more awareness to it so you can be truly empowered in how you choose to handle your stress and how you choose to get things done in life. So that's it for now. Please do let me know too how this landed for you, and if you have any questions that I can follow up with in future videos. So enjoy for now, and I will see you soon.